Okay, now in our previous tutorial we downloaded code blocks, and now we're gonna create our first new C program. Okay, so you're gonna go here to create new project. Okay, so I'm gonna click here, and then I'm gonna click console application, and then on my language I'm gonna select C. Okay, press enter. I'm gonna name my project first C program. You can name it anything you like, doesn't matter. I'm gonna say next, and then I'm gonna say finish. Okay, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna go here to sources and expand, and then you're gonna see main.c. This is our main program that we're gonna run. As you can see, the file name extension ends with C. That's the way it's supposed to be when it comes to the C program. Okay, it's supposed to end with a C extension. So I'm just gonna double click this. Now when I double click this, you see your first C program. Now the first thing I'm gonna explain here is they include this code here. This code here include, you basically use it when you want to import source code from a different file. So this means that there's a file called stdio and it contains C code. So we want to include that code in our program. So the next line basically does the same thing, but the only difference is that the file we're including here is called stdlib.h. Okay, now we have a function here called printf. Okay, so printf, we use this function to display information to the console window. Okay, so this function here is gonna print hello world. So I'm just gonna compile it here by clicking this yellow button here called build. Okay, and then I'm gonna press F2. This will show the build log. As you can see here, it says output file is at this location here. Okay, so our compilation was successful, and this is where our file is located. So just to show you, I'm just gonna run this program now. Now as you can see, hello world is printed here. So I'm gonna change this to hello coders, and then I'm gonna hold control and press S to save, and then I'm gonna build again. I'm gonna run this program again. As you can see, it no more says hello coders, it says hello world. Okay, now we can change this basically to whatever value we like, as long, the important thing is that it must be in between these two codes. If for example I leave one code here and then I type, maybe let's say hello world. Okay, now let me save, and then let me try to build. Now as you can see, it shows me this little rectangle here to indicate that there's a problem here. Okay, so I can fix that problem by closing my quotes again, then compiling, and now my compilation is successful again. Okay, now you can also use this function again and again. So I'm just gonna use it again here. This time I'm gonna say print, and then I'm gonna say something like I am a cool coder. Okay, and then you must remember not to forget to put your semicolon after every instruction. Okay, so I'm gonna put my semicolon here. I'm gonna save, and then I'm gonna build again. I'm gonna run this program again. As you can see here, it says hello world. I misspelled world here, but it doesn't matter. And then on the next line it says I am a cool coder. Okay, okay, now that you understand how to use this print function, the next thing we're gonna do is learn about variables and constants. Okay, so basically what a variable is, it's a value that might change. Okay, and then a constant is a value that will never change. Okay, so in C programming, a variable is statically typed. That means that you need to specify the type of data that your variable is going to contain. Okay, so the type of data we're gonna deal with here when it comes to C is a numbers and strings. Okay, so there's usually 3 of them we're gonna deal with. It's gonna be int, which is short for integer, and then it's gonna be double. We use that type of data to store information, numbers that contain a dot, basically floating point numbers. Okay, and then another one is a char. We use that data type to store a single character. Okay, you'll understand what I mean here after I demonstrate this to you through the use of code here. So I'm just gonna remove this printf here. The first simple variable I'm gonna create here, I'm gonna say int, and then the next word is the name of my variable. I'm gonna call it apples. Okay, now I've created my variable here. Okay, so it's gonna contain an integer. That's why I preceded here with the word int to indicate that my variable will store an integer. And then the name of my variable is gonna be apples. Okay, so now I've created my variable. What I need to do now is assign a value to my variable. Okay, so I do that by typing this code here. I'm gonna say apples is equal to 12. Let me remove this one equal here. Okay, is equal to 12. Okay, so now this means that every time when the computer sees the word apples, it's gonna see the number 12. Okay, and then now we must remember not to forget to put our semicolon at the end here. Okay, so I'm just gonna print this variable here by using the printf function. Don't worry if you don't understand what the function is. I'm gonna explain it later in our course. Okay, so now I'm gonna type in apples. Remember before we entered a string, which was a word that is inside our codes. Okay, but now we are not doing that. Now we are specifying a name of a variable here. Okay, you don't actually need to make a space before and after the word apples here. I like to do this because it makes the code a little bit cleaner or more legible. Okay, So I'm just gonna save here, and then I'm gonna build my project. Okay, my build was successful, and then I'm gonna run my program. Okay, I made a mistake here. Let me go back here. Okay, now in C, when it comes to the printf function, it needs to first start with quotes here. Okay, and then if you're gonna print a number, there's a special way to do it here. You need to specify a percentage sign. Okay, this means that you want to print out some special character or special variable. You don't want to print out exactly this percentage sign here. So the next character we're gonna put here is D. This means that we want to print an integer. Okay, so now I'm gonna save it again, and then I'm gonna build. Okay, I'm gonna run my program again. As you can see, the number 12 here was printed. Now I can change this to 1,000 if I want to. I'm gonna build again, run my program. Now it's 1,000. Okay, now I can also do something like this. I can type I have apples in the basket. Okay, now the computer is going to print out everything it sees inside these codes. Okay, but when it sees a percentage sign here, this means that we don't want to print something as it is here. Okay, we want to specify something special here. In this case, we want to print out a number. So to represent a number, we use a percentage and the letter D. Okay, so the results of this, the output of this function will be I have 1,000 apples in the basket. Okay, I have will be printed as is, and then percentage D, okay, will be replaced by this variable here called apples, which at the moment has the value 1,000. Okay, so I'm gonna save the code, and then I'm gonna compile it again. I'm gonna run my code. Now, as you can see, it says I have 1,000 apples in the basket. Okay, now the next data type I'm gonna use is double. Okay, we use double to store. Okay, before I use the double data type, let me show you something here. Let's say in this instance I want to store 10.5 apples. Let me show you what happens. Okay, you see it compiles successfully, but let us run our program and see what happens. You see, instead of 10.5, it shows us 10 apples. Okay, the problem is that we specified that we want to store this as an integer. Okay, so the computer will only recognize this as an integer, so it will leave out the 0.5 here. Okay, so now in order for this to work successfully, we need to change this data type to a data type called double. Okay, and then remember here, okay, the excuse me, the percentage D here, remember we use it for integers, but this time we are not printing out integers, we are printing out a double. So we need to change that to F. I'm assuming F stands for floating point value, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and then I'm gonna save my program again. I'm gonna build, and then I'm gonna run my program again. Now, as you can see, it says 10.5000 apples, which is exactly the same as 10.5 apples. Now, don't worry about these zeros. I'm gonna show you how to solve this problem at a later, when we learn later about functions. Okay, now the last data type I'm gonna show you is the char. Okay, now this data type stores a single character. Okay, so I'm just gonna type char, and then I'm gonna simply just change this variable to grade instead of apples. And then let's say someone has failed, so I'm gonna put an F here. Now if you're gonna create a char variable, you need to specify with single quotes here. You cannot use double quotes like this. Okay, let me use double quotes, and okay, so I'm just gonna use single quotes here, and then instead of, okay, so I'm gonna type Amos had and then percentage, and then this will be a character, so I'm gonna put C for his mathematics exam. Okay, so Amos had a which is grade here for his mathematics exam. Okay, and then I put a comma, and then on the next argument here, I'll tell you, an argument is basically extra information you give to this function. So basically there's two arguments here, they are separated by a comma. Okay, there's this string here, and then there's apples. So I'm gonna change this apples here, I'm gonna change it to grade. Okay, and then I'm gonna build this again. Okay, and now I'm gonna run this again. Okay, as you can see, it says Amos had a F for his mathematics exam. Okay, now I'm gonna show you the last part of this. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and change this to an int, and then I'm gonna say, call it powers, and then I'm gonna say equal 2 times 2. Okay, I'm gonna remove this sentence again, and then I'm gonna say 2 times 2 is equal to percentage. Remember, it's an integer, so we specify the D here, and then instead of grade I specify powers. Okay, now I'm gonna build this, and then I'm gonna run it again. Now as you can see, it says 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay, because now on my integer value I provided an arithmetic operation here. Okay, so the star here, we use it to multiply when it comes to computer programming. So basically I assigned it 2 times 2, and then the computer will calculate this, and then after it will store this in a variable. Okay, let's say for example I can also say 2 times 2 and then minus 3. Okay, so the computer will calculate, will say 2 times 2, get the result, and then the result it will subtract 3 from it. Okay, so I'm gonna save my program and compile and then run again. Okay, let me fix something here. 2 times 2 minus 3. Okay, build, and then I'm gonna run this again. Now as you can see, it says 2 times 2 minus 1 is equal to 3. Basically it automatically calculated the result here and stored it in this powers variable. Okay guys, that's it. Okay, for your first C programming. Okay, please like or subscribe if you enjoyed this content. I'm gonna be more advanced on my next tutorial. Please look out for that. Okay, thank you very much.